All right, believe it or not, when I first got this Hydrasynth right here, I was not a fan of it. Actually, I made a video that was actually pretty negative about the Hydrasynth. However, the more and more I've used it, the more and more I am impressed by it. Let's go ahead and talk about the Hydrasynth today. And I'm going to tell you guys some things I actually like about it and the one thing that I do not like about it. Bolo! All right, before we get started, if you guys are looking to get anything for your studio, even, the Hydrasynth or whatever you guys need for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click on my link in the description and head over to zounds.com. Zounds has a whole bunch of stuff on the site that you guys can get right now without a credit or background check. Meaning all you have to do is just order it, they will ship it to you, and then you can just make monthly installments on your items. Now, it's not everything, but it is a whole bunch of stuff that you guys can get right now if you click my link in the description and head over to Zounds. So go ahead and get you some gear today. All right, so the Hydrasynth. There's already a lot of videos out on it, and I'm kind of late to the party with it. But I did talk to the folks that actually makes the Hydrasynth. I talked to them, I think NAMM of 2024. I talked to them, and I was supposed to follow up with them about getting a unit, but I never did. But I ended up getting one anyway because I was very curious to see how this unit actually worked and how it sounds. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. At first, I did not like it. I was like, it's cool. I see what they're trying to do. And to be honest with you, when I was going through some of the presets, I was like, it's cool. Like, if this is somebody's first, synthesizer or whatever, I think that, it would have been good for them. And I actually made a video about it. I made a video, and the video was actually pretty negative about this because I think I talked about it on a previous video. I think I made the video a little premature, and I think that I never really got to sit down and really get to learn this thing the way I need to learn it. And I kid you not, after about using this for about 45 minutes every single day, that, the time I had, because, I just had a newborn. But using this, I've kind of figured out that this is actually a lot better than what I thought it was. And one of the main reasons why I feel that this keyboard is actually really dope, synthesizer is really dope, is because everything is laid out on this board to where you can make all of your changes, you can create, you can do everything right here on the board. You don't have to do any type of menu diving. You don't have to do anything. It's just basically click or turn knobs or do what you need to do. So that's why I've been really impressed with this board lately, because it's one of those things where it's so easy that you think it's supposed to be hard, but really it's a lot easier than what you make it out to be. That's what this board is, okay? If I could compare this board with another board, which is kind of hard, I'd probably say maybe the Prophet, on how easy it is to kind of go through and just make all the changes right there on the board. Now, the thing about this one is their whole little, module select and, how they got this thing laid out. Basically, it shows you how you can route everything on here, and it has a map for you on the board to where if you press a certain oscillator and you might want to add a mutant to it, or you want to add a second mutant to it, and then you have the mixer, and then you have all your envelopes, your filters, your amps, your LFOs and everything, and how you can assign everything to each oscillator. And then the amount of voices that you get with each oscillator is very dope as well too. I think it's 8 voices per oscillator. So it's you get a very, very powerful synthesizer for a very reasonable price. The one I got right here is $1,300, and they have a desktop, and they have an Explorer, and then they have the bigger model, which is $1,800 or something like that. And all of them work the same, from the small one to the large one. Every single last one of them work the same, and they all are dope. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not an analog board. Okay. And they never really even try to promote it as being an analog board. This is a digital synthesizer. So it's not an analog sound, but the thing actually sounds really good. And when I even route it by itself inside of the computer or through my MPC, it just gives a really good sound, and it has some really good textures and stuff in here. But what I like to do is I like to run it through my MPC, and then from there I run it through my Manley, and I get a really good sound by running it through those pieces of gear. And you don't have to do it like that. I just do it because I like to kind of beef up my sounds a little bit. Like running sounds through the MPC is already going to give it its own type of a sound when you run it through their preamps and conversion or whatever. And then I run it back out through the Manley and then back through the computer, and I get a really good sound from it. Now, I know a lot of you guys might not have that type of equipment to run it through, but rest assured that if you just ran this directly in, you're going to get a really good sound. And this is a digital board. Like, it's crazy. Now, another thing that I was really enjoying about this is creating sounds. And I thought it was going to be harder than what it is. Like, it was very easy. All I had to do was initialize the sound. And then I was thinking to myself, the first time I was going to, create a sound, I was like, hey, it can't be this easy. I had the first oscillator going, and I wanted to kind of like change that into like a sine wave. And then I was like, okay, how hard is it going to be for me to add another oscillator in here and, add that in there? And I'm sitting thinking to myself, this is going to be difficult. It looks like it's going to be difficult. And then I was like, it cannot be as easy as just going and just pressing the mixer button right here and turning up the oscillator, and bam, I just went to the mixer, I pressed it, turned it up, boom, second oscillator is ready to go. I can change that to whatever shape I want to change it to. The third oscillator, I can do it like that as well. I can go ahead and add LFOs to each of the oscillators by just simply clicking and then holding the LFO and then clicking on which oscillator I want to send it to. I can do so much stuff, and I don't have to do a whole bunch of menu diving. That is the best thing that I like about this board. You can pretty much make whatever you're trying to make on this board. It's really that good. Like adding in like other effects like reverbs, delays. You can add in drives, resonance, all that stuff is all right here on the board. And you got to remember something. I'm only probably about 50% into this board. Like, I'm going to do more videos on it. But with all of the stuff that they have on here, from even, selecting your gate, selecting your octave, your tempo, everything is just laid out right here on the board. It's laid out. Like, you don't even have to do any serious menu diving or anything. It is right here on the board. And then that's what I like. I like the ease of it because, at first when you look at it, you're like, it seems like a lot, which I ain't gonna lie. You can go pretty deep with this board. Pause. But there is a lot of other stuff that you can do with this board. However, just on the surface part, you can really get in, make some really good sounds with this board and not feel like you've been cheated price-wise. That's how I feel about it. Now, there is one downside to this board. The one downside that I do not like about this is not like a workstation. So you don't have multiple MIDI tracks. There's just one track. When you make a sound, you're going to have to commit to the sound like I do. What I do is I have it hooked up via MIDI to my MPC through the USB output. I have it going into the MPC and it controls the MIDI that way, which that's dope. And then what I do is I do like a MIDI track. And if I like that particular sound, I'll just loop it back in and I'll loop the audio back in. And then I'll just keep the MIDI track if I want to change things later on, which is cool, which a lot of boards are like that. They're like, they don't have multiple MIDI channels. Now the Juno has 4 MIDI channels, so I can use 3. It has 5 MIDI channels. I'm sorry. It has 4 MIDI channels and it has a drum track. So I can use 4 different sounds at the same time when I'm playing it. But this only has one sound at a time, so I would have to basically commit to the sound. Now, that's not a huge factor because when I'm making stuff with this, I'm pretty much using this to add textures or to add just that one defining sound that I need. And if I want to add some other sounds, I can just record it directly in via audio inside of the MPC. But if they did have this to where it could have multiple MIDI tracks where we could pick several sounds and use this kind of like a workstation, kind of like my Phantom down here, this would be incredible. Like, incredible. However, you know, for what it is, this is a very, very good board. I'm very excited I got it. I'm going to continue to keep learning it. Will I keep it? Who knows? But for right now, it hasn't moved yet. I'm learning more and more about it every single day. I'm watching a lot of other tutorials as well. I'm watching other people make sounds in it. I'm watching people, you know, show how to use the board. The manual is cool, but I'm a visual person. I like to see people actually using it. And when you take a really deep dive into some of the videos that actually show how to use this board, this thing can get really, really cool. So yeah, at first I was kind of like, this board is okay. But the more and more I use it, it's actually pretty doggone good for the price. Now, is it the best board in the world? No. However, if you're looking to get a synthesizer that can deliver on sound, that can deliver on you trying to create your sounds and trying to create really nice, lush patches for your beats or whatever, this is it. You can't beat it for the price. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed my little spiel about this. And I hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.